Well, hello and welcome to the Elsa Kurt Show. I'm your host, Elsa Kurt, and today I have a fantastic guest with tremendous information for you that you're not going to want to miss right after this. All right, guys, as promised, I have a great guest today. His name is Bruce Goodmansen, and he's going to tell us how we're going to save our kids from the Marxist education system. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Elsa. Well, let's begin by destroying the... Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say thank you for joining us today. Go right into it. I want you to tell us everything you can.
I know. I get so anxious on this. I'm just living it day and night. But I want to begin by destroying the myth that college is the only access to the American dream. So first, I'm going to declare that college is of no value to 85% of our nation's workforce. Again, that's 85%. Let that sink in for a moment, because too many of us believe that it's just the opposite. The majority of our workforce has a college degree. Well, this is far, far, far from the truth. Even more, out of 100 students who are accepted into college, 50 of them will drop out. In fact, we now lead the world in college dropouts. And the remaining 50 students who do graduate, 30 of them will end up in jobs they could have gotten straight out of high school. And note this, Elsa, there are roughly 30,000 occupations to choose from. Yet the typical university offers only roughly about 85 majors. That's it, just 85 careers to choose from. Wow. And yet, as we now know, there are thousands upon thousands of fruitful careers for the taking. But here's where it's getting a little dicey. Right now, 36% of our students will not demonstrate any significant improvement in learning or in skills over 4 years of college. Did you get that, Elsa?
That's insane.
Of our college graduates, yes, a third of our college graduates will be no better off or better prepared or better skilled than the day when they stepped on campus as a freshman. What a waste of life and tuition. Even more
just the
over
money
the last... Oh, we'll get into that. It just, oh my goodness, it's insane. Matter of fact, let's get into it. Right now, there are 44 million college students have an average debt of around $37,500. 44 million. That's insane.
It is. So, that's a big number.
Well, and worse is that over the last few decades, there has been a 50% decline in the time a student spends in research and study hours. So it's no wonder why an A grade is now the most common grade given in college nowadays. So what I'm trying to do is simply say, look, Mom and Dad, it is a lie that was perpetuated by the high school guidance counselors who basically put living fear of death into the parents' hearts, into their students' hearts, that if they didn't go down the road of college, they will never meet up with the American dream. And that's just not so. Most of our millionaires are from trade schools, or salespeople, or entrepreneurs, or apprentices who got their jobs through an apprenticeship. That's where the wealth is, and that's where the fulfillment is. But all what college is doing is turning our kids into Marxist students who will come out with no skills, a huge debt, hating America, and losing their faith. So I'm trying to say that there is another road, there's another avenue that our kids can take that is massive, that destroys the college system. And if you look Elsa, when's the first time, not the last time or the second time, when's the first time you've ever seen a group of students at a trade school marching out of class fighting for gender studies?
Never.
Doesn't happen.
Never.
It
Right.
doesn't happen because these kids, they're the heart and soul of America. They're the ones who are working hard, who are learning a skill, and so they come out um, ready to take on the world. So, and this is what my book, 100% Success Without College, is all about. It serves as an encyclopedia of the hidden training opportunities that are offered outside the college arena. So my book
This is
covers
invaluable.
everything. Well, it covers everything. It goes into trade schools, blue and white collar apprenticeships, cyber boot camps, entrepreneuring, sales, corporate universities, straight into the workforce after high school, community college, the military, and so much more. The point is, how can your young adult fall in love with a career if they don't know that the career exists? So just to give you a taste of the book's breadth, try to answer these questions. They'll show you how little we know. Where do our nation's baseball umpires get their training, Elsa? Do you know?
I
Do they
couldn't even
just drop
guess.
out of the sky? Well, maybe you have a son that eats and drinks and dies for baseball, but he's not good enough to play it professionally. But he could serve as a professional baseball umpire. But he can't unless he knows that the opportunity exists. And this is what the book is all about, is helping you know that these opportunities are out there. And what foundation offers $100,000 high school students to skip college? What chef school has the nation's best placement program in the world? And there are 3.5 million jobs with a 92,000 median income, excuse me, that will go unfulfilled due to a lack of trained technicians. And name the apprenticeship school that provides its students a salary of up to $30 an hour to learn one of 19 shipbuilding disciplines. And here's a cute story. You ready for this, Elsa?
I'm ready.
This young man, he was a high school dropout, and he buys at wholesale a bundle of men's winter underwear and long john, and he takes them up to the Pacific Northwest and sells them to lumberjacks, and he earns $1,500. Well, then he takes that $1,500, moves himself to Washington, D.C. area, then borrows another $1,500, buys himself an A&W root beer franchise. Then he buys another. Then he buys another franchise. And for 20 years, he buys these franchises and builds them up. Then he decides to buy a hotel, and then another hotel. And the name of this high school dropout, who was a great salesman and a great owner, is John Marriott of the Marriott Hotels. That's how he began. And this is the point of this book, is to give you stories that just says, even an underwear salesman can build empires.
This is such a revelation, I think, for so many people. And I have to tell you, the minute I started researching you and this book, I started writing a list of all of the people that are getting this as a graduation gift, as a Christmas gift, as every gift you can imagine, because I wish this was around when my kids were, getting ready to think about colleges and all of that. And I'm a big out of the box girl, so this truly speaks to my heart, everything that you're saying. And I see, and I have friends with kids who are in, tremendous debt from college with, degrees that they can't use. They can't even use them. So this take me a little bit more inside the book. I believe it's like actually like
Well,
a step by step, correct?
it's basically two sections. First section, Elsa, it's explaining to to our nation's parents what's wrong with our nation's education system from K through 12 in college. It gives you facts. I promise you, if you're a professor or if you're a teacher out there, you're going to have a hard time with this book. But you cannot deny the facts that are presented. For example, the nation's report card just came out and declared that 71% of our nation's high school graduates are not are not proficient in reading, writing, arithmetic, U.S. history, and science. 71%. In fact, of all the nations of the world, our students rank 26th in educational achievement. 26, which means our teachers are better than 26 in the world. And yet, China students, they scored, or they were number one in this international exam. Yet um, their nation pays half of what we do for our kids' schooling. So
Wow.
the first half is basically saying, let's look at what's going on, the damage that's being done. You talked a little bit about the debt. I've got a number of stories. Here's a good story. This young lady, elementary teacher, she's earning $50,000 a year. She started paying on her debt, and for 10 years, she didn't miss a single monthly payment, not one. She had paid in that 10 years $40,000. But after 10 years and 40,000, she owes now $17,000 more than when she started because she's only able to afford to pay the minimum.
It's just
And when these
devastating.
students pay this minimum, they think they're getting along nicely, but the debt continues to grow and grow and grow. And by the way, you lose 7 consumer protection rights, mom and dad, if you co-sign for a student loan. The same way with the students. They also lose 7 consumer protection rights. One of them is bankruptcy. We had a young lady, I was working for a law firm, a bankruptcy law firm, and we had this young lady, she comes into the room dancing and just so full of life. And I sat down with her to find out what her debt was all about. Well, she told me that her debt was 220,000 in student loan. And Elsa, you should have seen her countenance just drop almost the second I explained to her that she cannot ever legally bankrupt on a student loan. And the sad part of this story was, well, there's a couple of them. One is her $220,000 prepared her to become a high school guidance counselor. And the sad part about that is that as a trained high school guidance counselor, she herself didn't even know that she can't use bankruptcy to wipe clean her debt. She didn't know this. A high school guidance counselor. On top of that, we figured out mathematically that her income was going to be 42,000. She couldn't afford to be a high school guidance counselor. Her monthly student loan payment was going to be cost $2,400. So she had to find some other job. But what's sad about this story, the biggest sadness, is that universities force these kids to get in such horrible debt for the privilege of serving our young men and women to learn a new career. That's just insane. So I'm trying to tell moms and dads, keep your kids out of college. Now, if they do need to go to college, I do have a chapter. Also, I do have a chapter of the right way to do college and who should be using college. And that little sliver of who should be using it is about 15% of our nation. But even in that little sliver, if you want to be working on open heart surgery, for example, or if you want to be a lawyer. These professions are getting riddled with corruption right now, Elsa. They're
Right.
just dying. There was a debate at Yale University just about a week ago. Well, there was supposed to be a debate in the law school, but 120 of the law school students just rioted almost during the beginning of the debate because there happened to be a conservative speaker on the debate panel, and the moderator afterwards, about 3 days later, she got on and she said, I think it was Kate Still, and she's a professor at Yale University. And she confided, she says, I have a fear for the law profession nowadays because our students are too woke. They're either afraid to obey the law and will circumvent it because of their wokeness, or they're too afraid to say anything because they're afraid that their job will be taken away from them. And we learned through COVID that a doctor, the government take away your job if you basically say the wrong thing, or they can take
Right.
away your job if you prescribe the wrong kind of medication. So there is a lot of problems invested in getting those great degrees, even if you're getting into the computer sciences. Our H1B, I'm sorry, H1B1 visas are now allowing students from India, who are great students, by the way. They are outperforming our students by a long shot because they know what it's like to live a life in poverty. And so they work hard and they fight hard and they get these H1B visas and they come over to our country and get a computer field. And now companies like Disney can fire their $80,000 plus computer engineers and replace them with these $40,000 engineers. And to them, it's a fortune.
Right.
So even when you're in college and you're getting into these professions, there's a lot to be looking into. But then in the second half of the book, this is the land that I call the world of milk and honey. This is where we get into everything, into the trade schools, into the apprenticeships, entrepreneuring, sales, young adults going straight into the workforce. Excuse me. Told you I had a little bit of a cold.
No
And
worries.
but the question is often asked, can a young adult earn a great income with only a high school degree? And the answer is absolutely. For example, I met a young man working as a BMW service advisor, and I asked him his story. And he said that he was just a high school graduate, and he started off working for the company, a car washer. He washed cars on the
Mm.
lot. He then was moved into the tire department, and then to another department. And then he was offered a salary of $68,000 to work as a service advisor. Even more, his associate, who's been working there 2 years longer than he has, a high school graduate, he's earning $80,000. And then I spoke to a GoDaddy manager during a dinner dance event. And I asked him, I said, can a high school grad earn a great living while working for the company? He said, of course. He noted that a number of high school grads working in the sales department were making over $100,000 their first year. I mean, there are countless opportunities like these for any high school grad if, and this is a big if he or she is willing to outwork everyone. I mean, even their boss. But
Mm.
realize too, they also have to have a command of the English language, which they're not really getting a command of right now. And cell phones are killing our children's ability to communicate well.
Yes, abbreviations, everything's abbreviated, everything's shortened. Yeah, our language skills have decreased in our younger generations for sure. There's communication skills, all of the skills really have decreased so tremendously and frighteningly. And I think, it's almost like I feel like parents of elementary school children need this book long before they need it for when their kids go to college. They need it in advance to, just get off of that mindset and that track, and get their kids back on the right path. And I definitely see there's a lot of pushback from the conservative side of getting parents back involved in their kids' education, and saying, enough of this. This is not your job to teach morality and teach, gender studies to our elementary school age children. Um, there's so many life skills that they're not being taught. And this book is a perfect example of how much is really truly out there for them to do in the world. And you don't have to follow the script of, go to high school, go to college, and, pray and hope that you get a job in the field that you got a degree in. This is going to be life changing for so many families, I think.
Well, a lot of, or not a lot, but there are some parents that feel that this is way out of their league to basically serve as a guidance counselor to their children. And I'm here to tell you, Elsa, your audience, guidance counseling is so simple. You just need a resource to just basically walk you through it. And this is what my book does. It walks you through it so easily to be able to say to a young man or a young woman, look, here are the opportunities. And to show you how easy it is, think of it this way. We have homeschooling moms who, for the majority, do not have a teaching degree. And yet their children, their students, score in the upper 80th percentile in all the critical subjects on average. 80th percentile. However, on the opposite side of the coin, you've got in the public school teachers who are trained as teachers. They have learned all the disciplines of teaching, and yet their students score in the 60th percentile in all the critical subjects. So here we have these amateur teachers way outperforming the professional teachers. Now, I know if they can do it, that a parent could easily counsel their young adult of all the opportunities that are out there. And this is what it's all about, the book. It reads more like a wicked crime novel, Elsa. It's very fun. It's very hard hitting, but it gets to it, and it has a lot of upbeat stories to just say, look, you can do this because everybody else before you has done it as well. They were just like you, but you don't know that because you think that they're somehow born from some hybrid stock or something that gave them this opportunity to outperform everyone. And that's just
Right.
not so. Just like I talked about the story of John Marriott. He was a high school dropout, but look at what he did
Yes.
because he worked hard. He's,
Mhm.
and oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, no. I was going to say stories like that are so inspiring and so encouraging, I think, to our younger generation and their parents as well. It's such a tremendous gift to have a book like yours out there in the universe for them to see the alternatives, and in such an intriguing and engaging way. So I'm excited to read it. Of course, my kids are past that age, but I think there's going to be so much in there of value, and I'm really excited to read it. Now, could you tell everyone where they could find your book and where they can find you if you have any speaking engagements coming up? I would love to share that with everyone.
Sure. Um, my website for the book is anythingbutcollege.com. Anythingbutcollege.com. It's a very informative website. It has a very cute video, and it gives you all the chapter titles and headings, and it gives you a number of quotes from the book as well. So anythingbutcollege.com. And my
Perfect.
speaking, I just got done with Clark, and I'll looking for other speaking events, but I don't have any right now, Elsa.
Okay, no problem. Well, they can get over to your website and they can keep track of everything you've got going on. And Bruce, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing this incredible book with us. And I would love to have you back on again because I'd love to talk some more about how we got here, how this all happened in the first place. And I'd love to hear if you have insights on that. So tell me you'll come back on again. I'm putting you on the spot.
Absolutely. But if we go into that down that road, I'm going to scare the daylights out of you.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. So yeah, we're gonna make that happen because there's so much to dive into here. Again, this is Bruce Goodmansen. He is the author of 100% Success Without College. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, this has been the Elsa Kurt Show. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't talk today, guys. Sorry. I look forward to seeing you the next time. Take care.